Revealed, the incredible trap in a 10-page contract that transformed a black girl's life forever. Maya Taylor's heart raced as she stood in the bustling community center, surrounded by faces too familiar and yet so far removed from where she dreamed to be. The air smelled like spice and warmth, the way her grandmother used to fill their tiny kitchen with love. She was 16, a girl from the vibrant south side of Chicago, where aspirations were often stifled by harsh realities. But she was ready to break free. Today, she would step into a world far beyond the comforting embrace of her small, loving family. She had heard about an internship at a prestigious marketing firm, and the promise gleamed brighter than the city lights outside. The thought of stepping into that sleek office, away from the familiar streets, sent shivers of excitement down her spine. When she met the company's representative and saw her in a tailored suit, Maya couldn't help but feel small yet fiercely determined. She was confident, her grandmother taught her resilience through countless stories of struggle and hope. With quivering hands, she signed the 10-page contract. Those pages were thick with dreams and weighty with terms she barely understood. Her excitement shielded her from seeing the traps hidden within the fine print. This is it, she thought. I'm on my way. But the moment she entered the firm, the pulse of ambition gave way to an unsettling cadence of condescension. Voices whispered doubt. Interns who looked right past her, cloistered in privilege. Each condescending glance felt like a barbed wire pulling tight around her dreams. With her mother's words echoing in her head, the weight of expectations and the love for her family crashed over her. They reminded her that money and reputation meant everything, while she stood as an anomaly, striving for more. As days turned into weeks, the veiled biases unspooled, revealing the firm's ugly practices. She stumbled upon a hidden pattern of hiring that chilled her to her core, a cycle that kept people like her from moving ahead. Maya remembered her grandmother, the fierce matriarch whose stories of resilience powered her every step. In that moment, clarity emerged amongst the confusion. Aligning her dreams with the injustices was the path toward true empowerment. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Determined to create change, Maya rallied her fellow interns, each grappling with their own struggles. They stood together, voices shaking yet harmonized with spirit. Enough is enough, they cried. United against the firm's practices, they sparked a movement that rippled through the city. The media was swift to capture their fight, framing this young girl as a bold leader in a brewing storm for justice. But as the world watched, Maya felt the pull between her responsibilities as a leader and the love of her family. Would she choose success or fight for those left behind? The question echoed in her, raw and perplexing. Standing before her colleagues, she felt the gravity of her decision. Would she step into a new light, or would she turn back to the roots that nurtured her? The weight of possibility hung thick in the air, urging her to redefine her future, one rooted in the legacy of resilience her family instilled in her. Maya stood there, her heart pounding in her chest, the eyes of her fellow interns focused on her. They were waiting, hopeful and eager, expecting her to have the answers. They believed in her strength, but could she believe in herself enough to lead them forward? With a deep breath, she opened her mouth, feeling the weight of her grandmother's spirit behind her. No one should feel like they don't belong, she finally said, her voice steadying. And we're done being silent. A spark ignited among the group. Their determination filled the room, a palpable energy that brought warmth against the chilling air of corporate indifference. They talked late into the night, drawing up plans and sharing stories of their struggles. Each voice added vibrant colors to the faded painting of the firm's culture, a culture that had tried to blur their identities. They felt stronger together. Unbreakable. The sunlight streamed through the window the next morning, illuminating their gathered papers and presentations. Maya led the charge to confront the executives, armed with data, stories, and a resolute vision for change. As the meeting drew near, she caught her reflection in the glass. The girl staring back at her was no longer uncertain, she was fierce and focused. But as they settled into the boardroom, the reality of the uphill battle crushed against her chest. The executives, polished and poised, represented the very power structure Maya sought to dismantle. Words escaped like arrows, sharp and blatant. They dismissed their concerns, treating the interns like naive children throwing fits. Maya felt that familiar sting again, but this time she didn't flinch. Instead, she argued back, countering their rhetoric with facts and the collective voices of her peers. "Your hiring practices keep us boxed in," she exclaimed, voice rising. "Diversity isn't just a checkbox on a form, it's a philosophy that brings real talent and fresh ideas." Every syllable felt like a heartbeat. But there were murmurs in the room, signals that most were not ready to hear her. Days passed with mounting frustration. The interns didn't relent, pushing themselves harder as each rejection piled up. They organized rallies, shared their story on social media, drawing in others who felt marginalized by similar practices. Slowly, the tide began to shift. Messages of support flooded their feeds, and allies emerged from unexpected corners. However, as Maya gained visibility, threats appeared too. Anonymous messages warned her to back off. The fear coursed through her, but she clung to the voices of her friends and family. "You are not alone," echoed in her mind. Emboldened by support, Maya decided it was time for direct action. She organized a citywide protest, inviting voices from all backgrounds. This was not only about her fight but everyone who had ever felt silenced. The day arrived, and she stood at the front, heart bursting with both fear and courage. They marched through the streets, chants vibrating the highway as she led the charge. Each step resonated with purpose, filling the air with hope and unity. The moment felt electric, an awakening of solidarity, the kind she had dreamed of all her life. But just as the crowd began to swell with excitement, a message pinged on her phone. A familiar name had called for her, trying to pull her back, promising promotions if she kept quiet. It felt like a soft whisper that threatened to crumble the tidal wave they had built together. Could she really turn back? That moment of truth loomed, and Maya realized that the fight wasn't just for her but for everyone who had hoped for better. Would she stay true to her mission, or could she be swayed by the allure of success? Maya's heart raced as the message glowed on her phone screen. The familiar name felt like a lifeline thrown just when she was poised to swim free. Her fingers hovered, caught between the promise of a safe harbor and the call to fight for something much larger. She could sense the crowd behind her, chanting, their faces glowing with determination. "Don't you dare back down!" someone shouted from the front row. The voice belonged to Layla, one of her closest allies. She met Maya's gaze, and for a brief moment, they communicated with just their eyes: fear, hope, and an unwavering commitment to this cause. Maya clenched her jaw. She had come too far to let a tempting offer dismantle what they had built together. With her heart pounding, she put the phone away and raised her arms high. "We will not be silenced." The crowd erupted, a wave of energy washing over them. At that moment, she knew she was on the right path. Each roar echoed the stories they had shared, the struggles they were overcoming. As they marched, the city became their canvas for change, and each street they passed lit up with purpose. Signs waved high above heads, declaring their demands. "Diversity matters. We deserve better." The words echoed through the air, amplifying their fight against the indifference that had stifled their voices for so long. The momentum was intoxicating, each chant resonating deeply in Maya's chest, giving her the strength to push forward despite the threats looming in the back of her mind. Just then, an unexpected sight interrupted the current of adrenaline. A group of older professionals stood off to the side, watching the sea of faces pass by. They wore suits, their expressions a mix of curiosity and disbelief. Maya recognized one of them, the head of HR, Ms. Carter, the same woman who had brushed aside their concerns in the boardroom meeting. Maya caught her breath. Was this the moment she conjured all the courage for? She turned back to her friends, knowing what she had to do. Let us break the silence right now. The crowd paused, and she led the charge toward the group of watchers. Each step forward solidified her resolve. This is for every single person who has felt disposable, she cried out. And you need to hear us. Ms. Carter's eyebrows flickered with surprise, and Maya took it as a sign of vulnerability. For one moment in time, she felt like she could pierce the corporate armor that had shielded so many from accountability. Your inaction is a choice, Maya continued, her voice gaining strength. You can either turn a blind eye or start the conversation we all know is needed. As if invoking her words, murmurs spread through the crowd. People began to step forward, voicing their stories, filling the air with unfiltered honesty. Each shared experience shattered the wall of silence that had loomed for so long, revealing vulnerabilities that had been hidden away. But suddenly, as the energy peaked, a bulwark of security appeared, interjecting into the atmosphere thick with hope. This gathering is unauthorized. Their authoritative voices boomed. Fear rippled through the collective. Maya felt her heart plummet, uncertainty creeping back in. Had they pushed too far? Was this what it meant to challenge the status quo? In that charged moment, she faced the choice she had been avoiding. Somehow the promise of success and the dream of change stood neck and neck, both insistent and powerful. What would she sacrifice? Could she find a way to balance both worlds? As her friends rallied around her, solid and unwavering, she realized this fight was bigger than her own future. It was about crafting a new narrative for everyone. Just then, her phone buzzed again, an ominous reminder that the stakes had never been higher. With determination burning in her chest, she decided what was success without integrity. But as she turned to confront the security guards, Maya knew this was only the beginning. What would happen if they tried to shut her down? Maya stood firm, adrenaline coursing through her veins as the security guards moved closer. The crowd instinctively shifted, a wave of tension rippling among them, but she could feel the strength of her allies beside her, their solidarity like iron. Stay together. Layla shouted, her voice cutting through the anxiety. Maya turned her head, catching her friend's fierce gaze. There was no backing down now, not when they had come so far. She raised her chin, facing the guards with renewed courage. You don't scare us. We're not going anywhere until you listen. The lead guard, a burly man with a stern expression, stepped forward. You need to disperse immediately. If you refuse to comply, we will be forced to take action. His eyes flicked over the crowd, assessing. Maya felt a chill run down her spine, but deep within, a fire ignited. The truth was there, right in front of her. They could not be silenced any longer. Take action. You mean to silence our stories? She countered, her voice steady despite the flutter of fear in her stomach. For too long, people have hidden behind their titles and authority, letting anxious silence choke voices like mine. That stops now. The crowd began to buzz, energy building as they echoed Maya's words. Stop the silence. They chanted. Each person there was a part of a greater movement, a heartbeat in the rhythm of change. Maya could feel her confidence swell. This was their moment. Suddenly, a familiar face broke through the crowd. It was Kelly, a fellow employee known for her quiet demeanor but fierce loyalty. Maya. I heard you were here. She shouted, pushing to the front. I have something to share. Maya's heart lifted. Kelly was generally shy, often overlooked in meetings, just as so many felt invisible. What is going on? Maya asked, her attention now divided. Kelly took a deep breath, and in a voice that shook but held weight, began recounting a story of her own. I was afraid to speak up during our last project. I felt the tension in the room when ideas were dismissed. I thought if I said something, I'd only make it worse. More. Share more. A voice from the back urged. Kelly nodded, gathering courage from the support around her. I saw coworkers feel disposable, just like I did. We can't keep letting fear silence us. We are stronger together. As her story spilled out, the crowd responded. Each narrative mingled with Kelly's, shaping a tapestry of experiences from the people present. Stories of feeling overlooked, marginalized, even bullied, came pouring forth with urgency. Maya felt her chest tighten with a mix of pride and empathy. Each voice carved a path for the next, breaking down the walls that had divided them. They were no longer individuals lost in a system, they were a community demanding to be heard. But just as the energy peaked, the guards advanced again, their faces hardening. We're giving you one final warning: disperse, or face arrest. Now, fear gripped the crowd once more. Faces turned from excitement to concern. Would they really arrest them for speaking out? Maya glanced at Layla, her heart in her throat. The stakes were rising. For every person who stood here, there were countless others at risk of losing everything simply by being part of this fight. Suddenly, the buzzing of her phone jolted her once more. An incoming message could either be a threat or a lifeline. As she hastily glanced down, the words swam before her eyes: a familiar name once again, echoing their unsolvable dilemma between status and change. She then turned to the crowd, raising her voice above the chaos: if we stay silent, nothing will change. We are here for a reason, and I refuse to let fear dictate our future. Who else with me? The crowd's answer ignited the air, but the question now hung heavily: what would they choose to fight for? And what would it cost them? As tension mounted, a plan began to form in Maya's mind, but was she ready to face whatever came next? Maya's heart raced, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. We can't just talk, she continued, her voice barely masking the urgency swirling inside her. We need to take action. We need their attention, and we need it now. The crowd simmered with anxiety, the guards looming closer, their presence an unshakable cloud. But Maya saw something else than a flicker of determination in her friends' eyes, in the faces of those around her. They weren't ready to cower. Not today. Layla stepped forward, her voice steady as she quickly formulated a plan. What if we don't leave? What if we stand our ground, right here? Let them see how many of us choose to rise up together. Nods echoed through the crowd, their resolve hardening like steel. It was more than just the guarding presence of the uniformed men, it was a symbol of everything that had silenced them for too long. Exactly. Maya shouted, grabbing onto Layla's idea like a lifeline. We can make our voices resonate so much that they can't ignore us. We'll stand for every story we've ever kept to ourselves. Human chain. Someone in the back shouted, and the idea swept through the crowd like wildfire. They began to stand shoulder to shoulder, arms interlocked, creating an unyielding barrier against the intimidation. With every link formed, strength charged the air. But then the guard stepped forward, more menacing than before. This is your last chance. Disperse peacefully, or we will have to remove you. The lead guard's tone was curt, devoid of empathy. It felt as if he were facing an unruly mob rather than a gathering seeking validation. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the crowd at her side. What we're doing is not unruly. This is our right. She called out, her words firing up the momentum. A mix of defiance and fear flooded her veins as she faced the guards. Each member of the crowd echoed her sentiments, voices rising higher: we have the right to be heard. They were no longer just individuals with stories, they had become a collective force demanding respect and change. The lead guard's eyes narrowed as he assessed the unyielding formation before him. He looked torn. On one hand, he had a job to do, but on the other, the raw emotions emanating from the crowd were palpable. There was fear, sure, but there was also hope. Then, from within the throng, Maya felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Kelly again, her face radiant with excitement. Maya, it's happening. I just heard from a few people who want to join us, like from other offices. They're watching this unfold, and they want to be part of it. Maya's eyes widened. This was bigger than anyone had anticipated. The news could spread like wildfire. A revolution was brewing, igniting sparks of change in every corner. We need to tell them. Let everyone know what's happening here. The air crackled as Maya gestured to the crowd. We can't back down. We can't let fear win. Share your stories. Text your coworkers. Show them that this is more than a protest, it's a movement. As the energy surged, Layla's voice boomed, let us grab their attention. Let us gather stories, we can live stream this. We're not just voicing our struggles, we're showing the world they can be part of this fight. But just as phone screens lit up around them, a sharp command broke through the enthusiasm. That's enough. You will face consequences. The lead guard stepped forward, his voice rising above the chant. Maya's heart thumped wildly, but she stood her ground. The only consequence is your refusal to hear us. The crowd roared in response, unified, stronger than ever. But suddenly, an unexpected sound cut through the atmosphere. A loud crash as bottles shattered in the distance, causing heads to snap and tensions to skyrocket. What was that? Layla exclaimed, gripping Maya's arm tightly. Maya's instincts kicked in. Something was off, and she felt it in the pit of her stomach. But before she could respond, the unfolding chaos sent shockwaves through the tight-knit group. How would they handle this? What would it mean for the stand they were taking? With uncertainty looming, the story was far from over. Would they succumb to fear, or would they rise up as one to confront whatever lay ahead? The stakes were higher than ever, and Maya knew the next moments could change everything. As she forced a smile and steadied herself, she didn't realize she'd just seen the first flicker of danger. What awaited them would test not just their resolve, but also their hopes and fears in ways they hadn't anticipated. The noise grew louder, a cacophony of confusion and panic. Maya's eyes darted from the guards to the crowd, the air thick with tension. Someone screamed, and the human chain twisted as people turned to see what was happening. A shadow loomed over them, threatening to crack their unity. Stay strong. Maya shouted, trying to lift spirits, heart pounding as she fought against the rising tide of fear. Encouraged by her words, a wave of murmurs began, picking up rhythm, the kind of heartbeat that could galvanize an entire community. But the crash had sparked something more than just surprise, it had stirred instinctive reactions. People were pulling away from the chain, some looking to escape, others unsure of what to do. Maya felt the bond weakening and panic crept into her voice. No. We've come too far to let this break us. We stand together. Layla was right beside her, eyes fierce. Remember why we're here. Focus on our stories. Don't let them spin this against us. We need to stay together. The crowd hesitated but began to reconnect. Arms were interlocked again, determination flickering. Maya took a deep breath. This wasn't just about them anymore. They needed to show everyone watching, those who had joined to support them remotely, that they could hold their ground. At that moment, Maya caught a glimpse down the street. A group had gathered. Curious onlookers, supporters, and even cameras had trained their lenses on the unfolding drama. Maya's heart raced anew. This was more than a protest, it was an awakening. Her pulse quickened, the rhythm reverberating through the crowd. Look! She shouted, pointing toward the gathering throngs, they're here for us. This is our moment. The energy surged again as shouts erupted. We stand for our stories. The chants melded into the chaos, growing stronger as they welcomed new voices. Every word carried the weight of silenced narratives, the pain, the resilience, the shared history echoing back at them. But the guards hadn't retreated. They were forming ranks, their stony faces betraying no hint of hesitation. This is your final warning. The lead guard barked, a harsh edge to his tone. Maya's heart sank. Fear clawed at her throat. What would happen if they didn't back down? What would become of them in that moment of defiance? For the first time, doubts crept into her mind. She exchanged glances with Layla. We can't let them intimidate us. If they don't listen now, it will only get worse. Suddenly, a loud crack sounded again as something else hit the pavement nearby, a protester's sign. Or a thrown object. The crowd flinched, ready to shudder back, but not Maya. She planted her feet firmly against the ground, arms raised, breathing deeply despite the chaotic surroundings. Stand firm. We won't back down. This is about our lives. In the back, someone shouted, "What do we want?" The crowd echoed, "Change." "When do we want it?" Came the next call, and even louder, "Now." Maya felt a swell of pride. They were finding their voices, reclaiming their power in unison. But just then, a loud siren blared, cutting through the air like a knife. "Here come the reinforcements." A voice shouted with fear, and all heads turned to see police vehicles pulling up. The shiny black cars glistened ominously, ready to impose their will. Maya's stomach dropped. Was this the moment they'd been preparing for, or the moment that shattered it all? As the tension thickened like fog, gripping their hearts, she realized they were at a crossroads. Would they crumble? Or would they stand their ground, ready to shout out their truths into the void? Breathless, she felt urgency rise within her. This fight isn't over. She declared, voice steadying in the face of uncertainty. We're not going anywhere. This is our home, and our voices will be heard. With those words, the crowd ignited one last time, a potent force of hope, fear, and bravery. But just as they chanted together in a fierce unity, a loud pop echoed. Was it a flashbang? The chaotic energy condensed into one moment as they braced for the unknown. The lights from the police vehicles illuminated their scared but determined faces, each one a beacon of resilience. What would they do next? Would they transform fear into empowerment, or would chaos engulf them? The sound of people gasping swept through the crowd, drowning out the cheers that had just surged moments ago. The police sifted through the throng, stepping forward like soldiers wading into battle. Maya felt the palpable fear grip her chest, but she refused to back down. Don't let them silence you. She shouted, her voice cutting through the mounting noise. This is our truth. We deserve to be heard. The words tumbled out of her, coursing with the energy that flowed through the crowd. She could see faces illuminated by flashing lights, a mixture of terror and determination that reflected her own feelings. People around her began to chant her words back at her. We deserve to be heard. We deserve to be heard. The force of their unity pushed against the approaching guards, creating a wall of resistance. Layla. Maya called, searching for her friend amidst the shifting mass. When she spotted her, she felt a rush of relief. Layla was gripping the hand of a nearby protester, her expression fierce and defiant. They're trying to create fear among us. Layla yelled, her voice ringing out, steady and unwavering. But look around. We're not alone. Maya caught glimpses of people filming from the sidelines. Their phones and cameras were rolling. This was their narrative, their stories unfolding like a powerful film before a captivated audience. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a protest. It was about visibility, about the need for connection. But then the pop echoed again, sharper this time. A flash rang out, silencing some voices as instincts kicked in. A tear gas canister rolled toward them, and the moment turned chaotic. Back. Move back. Maya shouted, fear threading through her voice. People began to scatter, but there was also a wave of fight that surged up, refusing to let fear dictate their choices. We need to move together. She felt Layla's grip tighten. It's okay. Layla shouted, eyes wide and fierce. If we run, we're giving in. Maya pulled back, feeling the dread seep in. They fought hard for their position, just as they fought for the right to voice their experiences. She felt an almost magnetic pull from the crowd as they heaved together against the disarray. "Stay close," Maya urged as they moved back, forming a tighter group. The air thickened around them, stinging their eyes, and growing hazy. But amid the confusion, Maya sensed the spark of something deeper glimmering on the horizon. "Remember our stories," she yelled. "What we fight for matters." With that, a collective gasp emanated from the crowd. Faces turned toward her, and for a moment, certainty overshadowed fear. A few brave souls stepped forward, arms linked, standing firm as the gas began to dissipate. Then, they began to chant again, louder and stronger. "We are seen. We are heard." The words rolled out like a wave, crashing over doubt, fortifying their strength. And just like that, the crowd shifted yet again, filling with new energy. Maya looked back, and then at Layla. "We can't stop now," she whispered, adrenaline racing through her veins. The police were still there, their lines unyielding, but the crowd became a living thing, undulating, fierce. Maya took a step back, catching her breath, and then she saw it. A group of reporters had shifted their focus toward her. Cameras were rolling, capturing every moment, every word. "Only the truth can prevail," Maya shouted, and everyone echoed, feeling their power gaining momentum. As the chants erupted into a torrent of voices, a new sense of purpose washed over her. But just then, a figure emerged from the police line, a leader, perhaps holding a megaphone, raising it with authority. Maya's heart raced. What would happen now? In that moment, all eyes were on the police. Would they try to intimidate, to silence? Or would they listen? The crowd held their breath, hanging on the edge of fear and hope, ready for the next twist in their battle. What was about to unfold would shape their next steps forever. The megaphone crackled, and an eerie hush fell over the crowd as the figure stepped forward, their stance commanding attention. It was a police officer, tall and broad-shouldered, face concealed by a helmet and shield. Maya's heart pounded in her chest as she tried to read his expression beneath the visor. "People of this city," the officer's voice boomed through the megaphone, calm yet firm. "You must disperse immediately. This gathering is unlawful, and failure to comply will lead to arrest." The words hung in the air, thick as the tear gas that still lingered. Maya felt the protests of her spirit bubbling up inside her. "Unlawful?" She spat, the anger igniting within her. "What is unlawful about seeking justice?" The crowd stirred, a few voices rising above the others, echoing Maya's sentiment. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" They chanted, showing their resolve, refusing to bend. Layla stood shoulder to shoulder with Maya, her determination unwavering. "We aren't breaking any laws. We're fighting for our rights." There was strength in their words, a clear reminder of why they had come together in the first place. A flicker of uncertainty crossed some faces in the crowd, but the chants reverberated through the air, gathering momentum, each phrase laced with defiance. "We are seen. We are heard." With the police officer still holding the megaphone, Maya sensed a shift on the ground. The pressure was mounting. Surely, with the eyes of the world upon them, they couldn't dismiss their voices. She raised her hands, urging the crowd to listen. "Please, listen. This isn't just about today. It's about our future. Our children's future." Maya raised her voice, feeling something tugging at the seams of her courage. She could see cameras capturing their passion, and the thought both thrilled and terrified her. In that moment, something remarkable happened. A young woman, still in her 20s, stepped from the edges of the crowd, her face bright and familiar. Maya's heart skipped. It was Anna, a local activist known for her fiery speeches and commitment to the cause. "We're here to reclaim our narrative," Anna shouted, each syllable dripping with conviction. "We can't allow this city to silence us any longer." The crowd erupted, and the officer stumbled slightly, visibly rattled. For a moment, it seemed like the police would retreat. But just as quickly, that moment faded. The officer regained his composure and raised the megaphone again. Last warning. Disband or face consequences. Maya felt the shift in tension, a pulse of fear mingling with fierce determination. We will not back down. We will not go quietly. As voices converged into a cacophony of defiance, Maya noticed a flash. A group of reporters had shifted their cameras to catch every moment of the tense standoff. The weight of their eyes felt like an anchor, bolstering her spirit. Then, it happened. A line of police officers began to advance, shields raised, stepping forward with methodical intent. Hold the line. She shouted, looking around at those standing beside her, their faces resolute. We stand together. But as she yelled, Maya's gaze caught Layla's. Confusion rippled through her friend's eyes, a question hung there that spoke louder than any words. Are we really ready for what comes next? Layla asked quietly. Maya's heart raced. Did she have the strength to face whatever was about to unfold? Would they have the power to push back? Before Maya could answer, the first canister whistled through the air again, and the crowd reacted instantly, scattering like leaves in a storm. Stay together. Maya yelled as she darted forward. Would fear dissolve their unity? Would their voices be lost in the chaos? The ground beneath her shifted, and for one split second, everything felt uncertain. But as she fought to stay with Layla, the weight of their dreams propelled her forward. What happens now? She whispered, gripping Layla's hand tighter, knowing that whatever came next could change everything. Would they emerge stronger or break apart, pieces lost in the winds of turmoil? Maya's mind raced as she held Layla's hand, the chaos around them escalating into a frenzy. The crowd surged like a tide pulled by an invisible moon, panic setting in with the sudden explosion of smoke. Tear gas stung her eyes, making her tear up. She blinked back the stinging sensation, but the ground rolled beneath her feet, and her heart thundered in her ears. Keep moving. She shouted, but her voice felt small against the panic. People around her were shouting, coughing, their faces twisted in fear. With instinct taking over, she pulled Layla toward a building just off the main square. They stumbled inside, the door slamming shut behind them, cutting off some of the noise. Inside, the air was thick and still, a contrast to the chaos outside. What now? Layla gasped, her brow furrowed in concern. Maya wanted to pull out answers from thin air, to be the rock Layla needed right now. I don't know, she admitted, feeling the weight of uncertainty crush her resolve. She glanced around. The interior was dim, lit only by a faded sign hanging crookedly on the wall. We can't just give up. They can't keep us quiet. Layla nodded, still catching her breath, her chest heaving. You're right. But we need a plan. We can't just charge back out there. Maya nodded, her mind racing. The crowd outside represented something larger. It was more than just the heat of rebellion, it was about the system that suffocated them, an oppressive force threatening to stifle their voices. They had power together. From the corner of her eye, she noticed a small group of people huddled near the back. Some were holding phones, recording everything and anything. Maybe the media could help amplify their message. Maybe this quiet moment could be turned into something monumental, something they could take back outside with them. Let us join them, Maya said, pulling Layla along. As they stepped into the group, her resolve rekindled. Can you record? She asked one of the young men, who seemed to be coordinating with the others. He nodded vigorously, eyes filled with purpose. Just tell us what you want to say. He replied, excitement lighting up his features. Maya took a deep breath, centering herself. We need to let them know we're not afraid. We're not going to let fear silence our voices. We're fighting for our rights. We deserve to be heard. A few heads bobbed in agreement. The energy shifted, it was palpable. She could feel it in the air, the collective courage building like a pressure cooker about to burst. Go ahead, I'm ready. The young man said, holding his phone tightly. Maya stepped forward, heart racing, adrenaline surging. People of this city, she began, her voice steady and strong, we stand here today not as individuals, but as a movement. They may try to break us, but together, we are unbreakable. Cheers erupted, barely muffled by the heavy walls. People shifted closer, eager to share their thoughts. One woman stepped forward, her voice trembling but fierce. This isn't just about today. It's about every time we were silenced, every time our stories were ignored. Yes. Maya cheered, her spirit soaring with every word spoken. The small group turned into a gathering, a microcosm of everything they had fought for and still intended to fight for. We have to get this message out, Layla insisted. We need more than just our voices, we need to make this go viral. With every minute spent inside, the urgency grew. They were fighting against time, against a system that already saw them as threats. When the door swung open and the chaos outside threatened to swallow them again, they would be ready. Just promise you won't be quiet, Maya whispered to Layla before stepping together with the group, unified in their mission. But as they shared their stories and visions, a distant sound of sirens began to cut through the air, the heartbeat of an approaching storm. What do we do now? Layla's voice trembled, uncertainty creeping back in like smoke, thick and suffocating. Maya looked to the faces around her, the fighters standing with her. We keep going. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Little did they know, the sirens would bring more than just the police, they would bring a reckoning. Would they be able to hold their ground? Would their message pierce through the chaos outside? Maya stood with her friends inside the building, pounding heart echoing in her ears. The faint siren wails felt like a distant warning, each burst sending electric shivers through her. Outside, chaos brewed, but within this sanctuary, they invited hope and resilience. We're all scared, she said, her voice rising. But they can't drown us out. We must show them that we're not just pawns in their game. The room hummed with energy, each face alive with fear but also the spark of purpose. Layla held her phone high, capturing their words. We're about to give this fight a face. We'll show everyone our truth. Maya nodded, feeling her grandmother's voice whispering encouragement in her heart. This was the kind of fight her family had always faced, the oppressive weight of silence. People need to see that we're not backing down. She declared. This isn't just our moment, it's everyone's moment. They pooled their voices, everyone shared their stories, one amplifying another, weaving emotion into an intricate tapestry of unity. Each narrative was a courageous declaration against systemic oppression. Their determination resonated, creating a battlefield where they stood not as a scattered few but as an unstoppable force. Suddenly, Maya felt the walls vibrating with renewed energy. Their truth was powerful, and she had to ensure it reached the world outside. Let us go live. She urged, eyes locked onto the faces surrounding her, igniting the flame of urgency. We can't sit in here while they think they can silence us. We've got to make our voices heard. The group crowded around Layla's phone, and Maya positioned herself as the face of their movement, the embodiment of their collective story. People outside, listen. She began, grounding herself in the strength of those with her. This is not just about today's protest, it's about every time we've been ignored, every time our rights have been trampled. It's about hope, about resilience, and about demanding what we deserve. Excitement thrummed in the air as they chanted together, their voices spilling through the screen into countless households. We must be seen. We must be heard. But just as the energy peaked, there was a sudden knock on the door, sharp and jarring. Footsteps echoed ominously, sending a fresh wave of fear coursing through them. The noise outside intensified, and urgency shifted back into panic. Stay calm, Maya whispered, remember our strength. Together, we can face whatever comes. In unison, they joined hands, lending each other courage as they steeled themselves for what lay ahead. Maya turned to Layla, who lifted the phone high, hoping to catch every minute of their bravery. They pushed the door open, revealing a wave of blinding light and rows of uniforms. But what met them was not an imposing force. Instead, a single officer stood tall, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "We see you," he said, the watchful crowd behind him murmuring. "We want to listen." Maya's heart raced. Listen to what? She dared to ask, suspicion bubbling to the surface. "To your stories," the officer replied genuinely. "To your demands for change." The crowd was taken aback. "Change?" A voice echoed from the back. "After everything that has happened?" "We're willing to listen," the officer insisted, his eyes glimmering with a hint of sincerity. "But you must help us to understand. Join us in a discussion." That felt like an invitation wrapped in trepidation. Straddling the line between relief and disbelief, Maya stepped forward, heart pounding. "If you're serious about listening, then we'll share every ounce of frustration, every tear we've shed, and every dream we refuse to abandon." Nodding, the officer signaled to his colleagues, and a ripple of movement passed through the ranks. Instead of confrontation, they spread out, holding back the tension that had filled the air mere moments ago. The atmosphere shifted from one of impending danger to possibility. The crowd murmured, uncertain yet hopeful. "We will not let you silence our voices," Maya declared, feeling her resolve crystallize, driven by the energies of everyone present. "If you choose to listen," another voice chimed in, "we will share our truths." With palpable anticipation hanging in the balance, the officer stepped aside, creating a safe space. "Lead the way," he said. As Maya's and Layla's voices intertwined with those around them, the tension of the past crumbled. Each story mattered, each experience mattered. And as the night wore on, it became clear the true transformation would come when all voices were united around a shared mission. This was bigger than just one protest, one moment. It was a movement, a relentless push for change that began in a corner of Chicago but would ripple out far beyond its streets. Maya felt that familiar warmth in her chest, hope blooming with every word spoken. Sometimes, all it took was the courage to step forward, united. She could hear her grandmother's spirit in every echo of their resolve, stronger than any shackles that dared to bind them. As they began their meaningful conversation, deep in every heart stood the same understanding: this fight was just beginning. Now was the moment to stand tall together. If they dared to share their truth, surely together they could ignite a flame powerful enough to spark transformation everywhere. You need to subscribe now to continue following this incredible journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help amplify messages of change. Comment below your reactions and your own stories. Your voice is part of this movement. And, with urgency, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this inspiring transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the word and support.